How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to TheBlueShifting. Welcome back to Muv-Luv Monday. Good to have you here. Happy to have you. And welcome to the totally platonic outing for these siblings. It's still weird. It's weird, and it's really weird Yuuya doesn't know. Oh, that's just bizarre. Yeah. We've also crossed an interesting threshold where we've actually utilized all the native save slots. Like, I kind of progressively keep save slots for when I'm recording a series. It takes a lot of space in, like, the slots, but normally, for visual novels especially, there's so many slave slots that they make so many slave slots available because it's not like the data is super complicated to have to make a recurring save, so it's almost never been an issue. But also it's good because if there's a technical mishap, I can sometimes go back and grab either an image or maybe like do a type of recovery. It's very rare that that's ever had to happen, but it's just a rule of thumb is to just plan for stuff to go wrong. But this is interesting because they only provided enough slots like for natively in this game that as it is on Steam. Again, because I believe this is optimized for mobile primarily. Like, they put it onto Steam first, but I believe it was intended to be kind of built for mobile in mind, and so they have limited slots. And so it's funny to have to circle back and save over the first save I have with this one. But it's a good one. Anyway, we're going to jump into things because they're out here and they're going to be making a bit of a stew. And we kind of talked about it a bit, and I'm like, there's a part of me that's like, it's really weird because it still feels like a date, and you still got Yuuya kind of getting all blushy and very like flustered. And so then the question starts to be like, is she flustered because she's just embarrassed? Is she still experiencing those emotions and like is like kind of still just wanting to flirt with Yuuya and like see if that can still be a thing? Can she help it? Can she not? It's like, I'm not too sure where she is mentally right now. But as we were talking about it in the comments, it phased in my mind from being this weird like pseudo date where it's like, are they dating? Maybe no, to more of a like, maybe this is more of a like, I want to share part of my heritage and my family, you know, heritage, my family, what's something that's meaningful to me and like where I come from with someone who is technically part of that family who never had a chance to experience this. Not really. So yeah. We'll see. Will it be wholesome? Will it be confusing? Will it be a mix of both? Probably that. It's just gonna get awkward, I'm sure. I just think she deserves to tell him. I'm hoping that's kind of where this resolves. Because while it's a very complicated emotional issue for her, I imagine it's gonna be just as complicated for him. And in that regard, it really would be better for them both if they just are on the same page. But that's my thoughts. We'll see how this actually plays out. Anyway, let's kick back, relax, and just enjoy this this fun outing where we're gonna go and cook some food and probably have an emotional, destroying conversation. So yeah, let's jump right in. Let's see. These carrots and onions should be good enough, but we're missing the potatoes. This is why Yuuya couldn't go out in uniform. There's a black market in the Japanese part of town. Hard to believe Miss Rules and Regulations is buying organic produce in the black market just to make a Nikujaga for me. You know, the world isn't gonna end if they're not perfect, right?
It's
definitely, I think good potatoes is something that people don't really appreciate or don't think about very often, but I can't help it. Potatoes has always been a big staple of food, and I even knew some potato farmers. And so, like, yeah, I've got a little more knowledge about potatoes than most people.
Oh,
So we're reading right into awkward. Actually, we don't have that kind of real. What's up, Yuuya?
すまないYuuya。向かいのネオ浅草で少し時間を潰していてもらえないか。
What? Why? Sure. Is it what it is? What it is. The lady didn't mean anything by it, but we're superior and subordinate. It must have made things super awkward for Yuuya.
照れない照れない。あいよこれ。旦那さんが基地を守ってくれたサービスだ。
See, this is what I find problematic, though, is like, couldn't her reaction have just been, no, it's not like that? Instead, she's just saying, maybe you go across the street for a bit. So that's the plan, huh? The old geezer's reputation isn't just for show. The actual improvements to the Shiranui second will be along the lines of what I suggested, only about 1 billion times better. Still, Heinemann isn't going his own way with this. His approach is entirely different from the stuff I proposed. Rather than focusing on tweaking individual components to hell and back, he's accounting for how they'll work together in tandem to achieve an overall net performance boost. Okay, so it's about small scale versus large scale, where Yuuya was pretty much identifying like dozens and dozens of little things that could be done, little tweaks that could be adjusted in order to achieve what he believed would be a better build. And Heinemann's kind of saying like, what if we actually literally replace some of these parts with other parts that emphasize a direction we want to take the build, that correlate with other parts that we can also replace? Like it's a way of approach. I do think it's incumbent of what you would expect of an engineer. Let's just say that. A completely different design philosophy than what Lockwell Mardin brought to the table with the Raptor and the F-35 Lightning II.
待たせたな。
Aww. Gosh darn it. That didn't, at first I was thinking that's an apron, and it might be, but it actually looks more like a dress. So it's either like a dress-like apron, or it's a dress that's just very homely, but not in the bad way. Homely can mean like meh or kind of plain, but it's not that at all. It's actually very, very flattering. It's ready. Oh man, the smell's been driving me crazy. I'm surprised you couldn't hear my stomach growling from there.
そうか。
Last time we were in the cafeteria with all kinds of smells drifting in the air, but now I can fully savor it. Pure, unfiltered Nikujaga.
期待に添えればいいのだが。
Oh man, so you can see almost the bitterness. It's so there. Of course it will. Phase 2 is a knockout. I'm hyped for the Takamura Nikujaga Phase 3.
まあ、そうだな。どちらも貴様が望んだものだ。
That was very cute, Yuuya. I don't think he's intending to be cute, but it was cute. Yeah, well, how about we dig in? I'm at my limit here.
おい。
Finally, hello again, old friend.
もう、せっかちだな、ゆうやは。
The smell is so sweet and nostalgic. Music and taste can bring memories of times past back to life, down to the smallest details. Yes, 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 yes! I've said it before, I've said it 1,000,000 times, and for me it's the stupidest thing, that stupid Orange Julius, and I think I brought it up enough, I'm not going to go over the story again, but it's so crazy how you can have a nostalgic taste of something, and it just is such a powerful way to trigger memories. It's so cool.
暑いぞ。気をつけてな。
Thanks. Aww. She's so happy, but there's gotta be that like gnawing in the back of her head. You gotta talk about it, you gotta bring it up. She's just having a time of her life watching him. Kinda hard to eat with you eyeballing me.
そうか。気にせず食べればいい。早く。
What's with her? I didn't have her pegged as a doting home chef kind of woman. Well, whatever. Thanks for the food.
召し上がれ。
Whoa, this is good. This is seriously good.
本当か？
Yeah, it was good last time, but now you've knocked it out of the park.
そうか。よかった。
Aww. But man, this taste, I swear it's exactly like my mom used to make it.
どうした？ほうけるほど美味しいのか？
This can't be where the name Total Eclipse comes from, right? Like, this is just a casual reference to a total eclipse. Yeah, gotta hand it to you. The way you use the pepper, complete game changer. I wonder if it's a Nikujaga dragging all these memories to the surface. Last time, the other flavors were overshadowed by the pepper, but now it's all been blended in with the soup. The taste is different, yet familiar. It's just like the Phase 3 improvements. The individual components synergize together to enhance overall performance.
そうなんだ。一度下にした後、煮汁だけをゆっくり詰めてなじませるのがコツなんだ。
It's actually very true. Like, when you're using proper peppercorn and you are letting it exist in the stew rather than something like ground pepper, like using ground pepper, you know, as an after effect or like a spice you add in the middle, and you let it actually kind of permeate throughout the entire broth, it is a whole different experience.
馴染みすぎると風味がなくなるから、具材を戻すタイミングと、その後の煮込み時間が勝負でな。味が均一に染みるよう、お玉で煮汁をかけ回しながら頃合いを測る。
It is so funny because, like, it's from Yuuya, who's a cute, adorable girl, but, like, at the same time, I'm hearing my great-grandmother when she was explaining how to make our family borscht recipe to my dad. And it's like the language is so similar. Like, it's a completely different delivery, completely different tone and everything. And yet, like, the cooking, like, whoever wrote this does have an understanding of cooking, and especially seems to have an understanding of these more stew, kind of old, homey type of food preparations. It's really fun. It's weird. It's really weird to be, like, having such a weirdly personal connection with this, of all parts. You know, like, I should be focusing more on the awkwardness of the, like, pseudo relationship and what does this relationship even mean now, but I can't help but just be immersed in the idea of her, like, enjoying sharing a family meal, because it's something I've experienced, like, time and again. And I really need to get my dad to teach me the recipe officially now. I know a good amount about it, but, like, it's one thing to hear the recipe and even to see it written down, but it's one of those things, especially when it comes with timing and, like, learning when to add things and, like, how much to add and everything. It all comes down to kind of preparing it as you go, and you need to be involved in the process or else you're never going to remember how to do it right. Gosh darn, sounds like a ton of work. So that's why you've been glued to the pot, huh?
ああ、フェーズ3の資料があって助かった。部屋に招待しておきながら、何の相手もできなかったからな。
Don't worry about that. This has been entertaining in its own way. Kind of interesting to take a peek behind the scenes of my favorite dish.
ゆうやのお母様は、どこでこの日本料理を覚えたのだろうな。
Come on, like, I know why she's asking, because she's kind of trying to, like, maybe see what he might know, maybe try to get him to make some guesses, but at the same time, she knows where his mother must have learned. It was my father's favorite. I figured she did it to please him or something. Actually, she never told me this was a Japanese dish.
そうか。
Anyway, and please forgive me, Mom. Your Nikujaga is way better. Seriously, I was doubtful anything could touch the idealized taste of my memories, but lo and behold, you did it.
そうか。まだたくさんあるぞ。好きなだけ食べてくれ。
That's the funny thing about stews. Even if you intend to make small batch, typically you'll make way more than you expect. Are you serious? You don't mind if I eat all of it?
いいんだ。これはゆうやのために作ったんだから。
Fetch me, man. There are people, there are specifically people working as engineers in the hangar who are rolling over in their graves. They're not even dead, but they're still rolling over in their graves because they would kill to hear her say something like this to them. There's people in this audience, there's people in the comments section right now who are also rolling in their graves. Ah, you said you've been waiting for a chance to have dinner together, right? So come on, don't let me eat by myself here.
ありがとう。
Hey, Yui, I've been wondering, how popular is Nikujaga in Japan? Say I come visit down the line, could I eat this every day?
いや、ベータの進行で食料事情が悪化する前であれば、それも可能だろうが、さすがに毎日は。
I'll have to add Nikujaga to my repertoire of the desired Japan trip that fate has seemingly decided to stop me at every possible turn to preventing me from ever going, because it seems like there's always something. But someday, somehow, I'm gonna make it to Japan for a fun vacation. And when I do, I'm gonna have to add this to the list of stuff I gotta try and eat. Talk about putting my foot in my mouth. About darn time I remember the US has a way easier when it comes to food. Sorry, that was insensitive of me.
いや、気にするな。ベータの進行前、毎日ではないが、よく母が作っていた。
Oh, you don't say. This was your mother's signature dish too.
私の母は、武家の箱入り娘でな。聖火では自分で厨房に立つなど許されなかったそうなのだが。
Oh, maybe that's part of why she's enjoyed this so much, is because if she were in Japan, they might not actually even let her cook this food.
父の好物として、料理番に頼み込んで教えてもらったそうだ。
Right. Ah, so that's how the professional chef would do it.
いや、父が料理番にレシピを教えたそうだ。一般的な日本の肉じゃがには、
Here we go. We're tiptoeing. We're tiptoeing. Hmm?
一般的な日本の肉じゃがには、いや、日本の伝統料理には、胡椒を入れないのが普通なんだ。
I mean, that makes sense, but I didn't actually realize that. Like, pepper is such a ubiquitous flavor, a ubiquitous spice. It's used in so many different cultures. I guess it makes sense that it might not be in many traditional Japanese dishes, but I didn't even think about that. It is a huge part of, like, borscht, like I said, which is, well, like, a lot of times you trace its roots to, like, Russia, Ukraine, but there's a lot of implication that is more, it's very Slavic in general. So, like, Norway, Finland, probably all have their own version of, if it's not called borscht, it's very similar and has just a different name. So your father was a samurai, but he had a taste for Western things. That's kind of funny in its own way.
なんでそう思う？
I mean, because in America, it's basically a crime to eat meat that hasn't been seasoned with pepper. Fair. That's actually fair.
確かにそうかもしれない。私の父は兵装開発に従事する技官だったから、
Okay.
技術研修などでの要項も多かったと聞いているからね。
I'm becoming more confident that this is about her trying to broach the topic with Yuuya, but in a very, very controlled manner. She's trying to tiptoe us into... She might even be hoping that Yuuya will make the connection himself. And that's why she's kind of like laying the groundwork. But instead of Heinemann, who told his story just straight out, she's kind of putting the tracks down for him and hoping that he'll kind of follow the logical progression, which is, I mean, bless your heart for having such faith in his cranial capacity. I'm not too sure about this. Come to think of it, Yuuya, didn't you mention your father worked on the Type 74 long blade? You should have said something about that after our battle against the Bao Fang.
ああ。いや、あまりに優也が天才だなんだと褒めるので、身内だと言い出しづらくてな。
It'd be awkward to come out and say we're related. Oh, yeah. Talk about thief of the day. Holy crap, you're telling me he wasn't just involved, but he freaking designed it?
ああ、そうだ。あれは、父の設計によるものだ。
Yeah. Gosh darn, so genius runs in the family, huh? Yeah, that explains an awful lot.
何がだ？
No, like, you're a second generation TSF developer, right? Makes sense, you worked on both the Railgun and the XFJ program.
ああ。親子2代というより、それこそ本当の侍だった頃から武器職人の家系なんだ。昔は鉄砲や大砲、反射炉などの改良などもやっていたそうだ。
Reverberatory furnace. I wish, like, I'm sure I've heard that somewhere before. I don't know what that is. I'll have to look that up later. Just cause, I mean, my guess would be it has a lot to do, it would do with like a casting of metal and like design. So maybe a reverberatory furnace I mean, reverberations is about like vibrations, and a furnace is about applying heat. So maybe it's about a way of like practically, efficiently curing metal in maybe molds, but with vibrations during the heating process to maybe help work out some of the potential misalignments or flaws, and like to make it so you're less likely to introduce crap, what do you call? Just having a brain fart moment. It's not flaws, it's poor mixtures, it's when you have something, impurities, that's it, impurities. Jeez, I can't even begin to imagine all the centuries of history. Dude, you're an honest-to-God princess, aren't you?
なんだ今さら。よしてくれ。
Yes, please don't. But, like, that's what you are, right? Like, master of the house and all that jazz? Crap, that doesn't even mean you're in the same position as my late grandfather was.
日本の武家では戦前まで、つまりアメリカとの戦争前まで原則的に家督は長男が継ぐものとされていたんだ。
Interesting. I wonder. So, is that like a proper translation of what Japan calls World War II? Did they call it the Pacific War? Which is it would be interesting because they were allied with Germany and Italy, but they, from what I understand, they really didn't do much with that, with Germany and Italy directly. Like maybe they sent supplies and information, but I never heard of any like Japanese soldiers actually, helping try to defend the borders over there. And Japan's motivation ultimately was they wanted domination of the Pacific Ocean, which is likely why they joined up against like the United States and launched an attack against us in general. Was this idea of like we were the biggest threat to their the domination of the Pacific with Hawaii. It was Hawaii had been clearly developed as a military outpost, which again is why Pearl Harbor was targeted. Because it was, like, honestly, if America hadn't been able to rally its forces, and if more of our aircraft carriers had been taken out in that surprise attack, we probably would have fared a much, much worse in the Pacific theater. They always talked about like the sleeping giant. It was really the fact that we had so much manpower and so much more infrastructure than it looked like we had as a nation. That kind of was the downfall of the entire war effort in the Pacific for Japan. It was not anything to do with like the lack of gumption or their military capabilities, because they'd clearly been had so much success with other major like powers like China in the Pacific. And it was really the fact that after the attack on Pearl Harbor, we still had so many resources, we were able to kind of start chasing them back. And by the time we got into serious engagements like Midway, like we had so many more like battleships and carriers in production that it kind of became a war of attrition where we just kind of outproduced Japan. And we also had we had a lot more available reserves for troops and equipment, where Japan had been being so successful, they had exhausted a lot of they'd lost a lot of troops over their campaign. They had exhausted their economy because they'd already been on, like war maximized economic like control for so long that just wasn't much left over anymore. It was like everything was already funneled into that. And so that was really the kicker, was that we just kind of were able to outproduce them more than anything else. Really? Man, the Japanese sure love their feudal traditions.
実はその慣習は未だ武家社会に根強く残っているのだが、父は養子を取らず、一人娘だった私を家督継承者にしたんだ。
Oh gosh, that's actually that's terrifying now, because they're still so traditional, and because a male child would be, for all intents and purposes, like considered the heir to the household, like by tradition that would trump most any other claim. So the existence of Yuuya is actually very scary for Yui. I don't think she quite sees him as a threat that way, because I don't think she thinks he cares. But the thing is that he has a very legitimate claim to like the Takamura household. And so and by many in the military, like despite the fact that he was raised American, there's a chance he could go in and say, hey, I should be heir of the house. And there'd be enough people that might accept that on the backs of the tradition that he might not be there might not be any real challenge offered against him. He technically could take over the house if he really pushed for it. He won't. Like, it's not who he is. But the fact that he could is another really big problem for, like, politically. Because that's the things, like, that could be grounds for assassination right there. Like, no wonder, like, it'd be best if Japan doesn't know. Because if Japan knew that that could even be a potential threat to stability, they might have an unscrupulous, like, very cold, calculating type just try and, you know, take the safe route of just taking Yuuya out before it can become a problem.
父が亡くなった時、親族と少し揉めたが、母が毅然と振る舞ってな。問題にさせなかったんだ。
I wonder if her mom knew. I'm pretty sure her dad didn't, so I don't think her mom would have known. But if her dad did know and her mom didn't, that would be really weird. So that's what happened. Yuuya was caught in the middle of a struggle between her parents and the rest of the family. Even so, Yuuya never boasted about her position or complaints about the hardships she's faced. She simply endures, worlds apart from the image of the typical sheltered aristocrat born with a silver spoon. From now on, I should watch my words around her.
Yuuya.
What's up? Oh boy.
話のついでと言ってはなんだが、今度はYuuyaの家族の話を聞かせてもらっていいか?
She's just laying down the track, laying it down. Here we go. Chugga chugga choo choo. Here we go to Pain Train. Fair. Only natural the conversation would end up here. I don't mind sharing, just don't expect some grand epic or you're in for a disappointment.
いや、Yuuyaの、
About my father, right?
そうだな。
This is gonna be painful because he has a poor, like, even now that he's a lot more like contemplative and a lot more likely to have a positive spin on this, it's still gonna be real painful for her. Knew we were gonna get to the point sooner or later.
気分を害したのなら詫びる。だが、
Nah, don't worry about it.
なんというか、同じ日本人として、
I think she also is maybe the reason why she's not revealing yet is because she like wants an unbiased opinion from him first. She wants to know, what does Yuuya think about their father before he knows. Honestly, there isn't much I could tell you. The man bailed on us before I was even born, and the only thing I heard from Mom was how he was this awesome samurai. Not like I was really in the mood to listen most of the time. I don't even know what he looked like. Mom didn't keep a single picture of him. My grandfather or some of our relatives are to be believed, the guy was a real deadbeat, total piece of crap. She's like, ugh. And since he didn't even bother trying to contact us even once, I guess I believed them well enough.
そうか。Yuuyaのお母様とはどこでどうやって知り合ったんだ?
In his ignorance, he doesn't realize he's just stabbing her in the soul repeatedly, but that's to her, it's her own fault. She knew this was gonna happen. Beats me. Other than the samurai stuff, she never bothered much with the specifics.
そうか。軍の調査はどうだった? 聞かれたこともあったと思うが。
I declared I was the son of a single mother, which doesn't raise any eyebrows in America. Besides, my grandfather was a bit of a celebrity in military circles. Bridges is a name that carries a lot of cash. Cash? I'm trying to think of, like, carries a lot of just power. Nobody would dare hire a private investigator to dig into things.
そうなのか。
Sorry, I'd love to tell you more, but that's about all I know.
いや。
But if you must know, I don't care about my father anymore. I don't care who he is or where he went. I put it all behind me. Oh, you sweet summer child. If only you knew. I hope you know soon. Well, I guess I have you guys to thank for that. Rather than spending so much time and energy with the deadbeat piece of crap living rent-free inside my head, I should have lived with my eyes firmly set on the present. She's like, ugh! I should have been there to protect my mom, and I should have protected the things important to her. I was desperate to distance myself entirely in mind and spirit from my father, but in so doing, I trampled all over my mom's feelings for the guy and the fact that she gave birth to me. Honestly, I was the worst son she could have asked for. I couldn't even make things right. She died before I had the chance. My mom never tried to look for my father. She never badmouthed him, never cast him as a victim. Instead, she told me when I was a little kid that I had samurai blood in my veins and I should be proud of that. From the way my grandfather and the other folks talked about him, you'd think he was the Antichrist, the most despicable scum that ever walked God's green earth, and me? I was only too happy to join the chorus, but not Mom. She never faltered. She defended him until her last breath, alone. These same folks went and decided Mom was just clinging to the past, too stubborn to move on, and guess what? I thought the same thing too.
Yuuya.
I should have listened to her. I should have taken her words seriously. When I was a kid, I used to think Mom was miserable because of me, because I was half Japanese. So I wanted to stick a middle finger up at the a-holes who discriminated against us by joining the army and becoming a model American citizen, making my mom happy in the process. But in her perspective, I was going out of my way to deny my Japanese heritage, my father's heritage. There it is. There goes my gut. Oh no. And that came as a shock to her, since all my life she worked tirelessly to convince me my father was a good man and that there was nothing wrong with being half Japanese despite the abuse we got. She looked so miserable back then, and now I know why. So when I tried your Nikujaga for the first time, everything started to fall into place. My favorite food was the Japanese dish all along. Imagine that.
Huh?
See, Mom used to call it Mom's Special. Probably because I hated my father so much, she decided I wouldn't eat something I know comes from Japan.
ではお母様は嘘をついてまでユウヤに日本のものをお父様の好物を伝えようと。
Come on, Yuuya. Come on. The hints are there. The crumbs are there. I don't think he's going to make that connection. I wouldn't. If I were in this situation, it's such an extreme, crazy coincidence, honestly, that the two of them have met and they have such a crazy connection. Like, even with all of this evidence laid out, like it's being laid out for Yuuya, I don't think I would have picked it up on it. And so I really don't think Yuuya would. So I'm not surprised. I want him to, but I'm not surprised. This isn't one of those dense main character moments. Not like the fact that, like, clearly Kriska and Yui both like him. That's a dumb MC kind of moment. Like, the signs are all there. It's pretty obvious to anyone and everybody. But this is something that I don't think anybody would really see coming. Even if you presented them all the facts, the most you might get is an odd suspicion saying, like, that's weird that they're so similar. But you could probably chalk up a lot of that usually to just, oh, well, like, similar discs from similar cultures. Makes sense, right? But if you have the connection of that fact that, like, pepper being a major component that makes the dish, that makes it really different from most Japanese versions of Nikujaga, and the fact that it's the same style that Yuuya grew up eating, and it's kind of this interesting mingling of a Japanese traditional dish with some spices that are more driven by Western and American flavoring. It really, like, there's that connection that really helps cross the bridge, but it's such a subtle thing, and especially with the fact that, like, Yuuya doesn't know that what Nikujaga typically tastes like in Japan. Like, it's one thing to hear, oh, it's different, but if he went and tried somebody else's, that might give him that clue he needs. Being like, well, this is really different. Like, it doesn't remind me of my mom's dish at all. And yet this is the dish that her dad liked, and that's where that connection could be. That's the gist of it. Man, she must have been over the moon when she saw how much I liked it. Son of a bee. I was only trying to make her happy, but I only made her more miserable. I owe her the world, and I could never pay her back. Sorry about that. I didn't mean to yell.
すまない。私が立ち入ったことを聞きすぎたから。
No, even if it wasn't ulterior motive, there wasn't an ulterior motivated, which, granted, it's a very proper ulterior motive to be having right now for Yui. But even then, it's good he's talking about this. It's fine. Getting it out in the open actually helps organize it in my head. Sorry to bring the mood down.
いや、それはいいんだ。でも、もう一つだけ聞いていいか。
Oh boy. Huh? Do you even need to ask permission at this point?
ゆうやのお母様がそこまで思いを貫けたのはなぜだと思う？
She's really wanting to draw the connection. She really doesn't want to have to tell him. She wants him to see it himself. Well, to put it simply, because she was still in love with him.
それはもちろんだ。ただ、それだけの強い意志を持ち続け、探しもせずにゆうやを育て続けた。だとすれば、別れなければならない、やむにやまれぬ事情があったのではないか。
Yeah, I see what you mean. For all I know, you could be right. She's like, please, I am right. Just go. Come on, just take that leap. Just make the connection. I guess Yui can better understand what's driving Mom's actions. Women's intuition is one hell of a thing. If it really was the case, I've wasted my entire life going down the wrong direction. Oh no. I think she's gonna break before he cracks it himself. Which, like I said, I think that was the inevitability, but Yui? Are you crying or something?
いや、私は嬉しいんだ。
Huh?
ゆうやのお母様はゆうやを誇りに思っていたと思う。
Huh?
だからこそ貴様が米軍という道を選んだことも反対しなかった。たとえ自分の意に沿わないものであろうと、子が自ら選んだ道、それを大切にしたかったに違いない。我が子に嘘をつく責任を負ってまで肉じゃがを食べさせ、おじい様に逆らってでもお父様をかばい続けたお母様であれば、なおさらそう考えるだろう。
Right.
その結果、ゆうやはお母様の思いにたどり着いた。あれだけ頭ごなしに否定していた日本を認め、皆に助けられ、そして今度はゆうやが皆を助けようと必死になっているじゃないか。ゆうやのお母様は絶対にそれを喜んでいる。なぜなら私ですら嬉しいんだ。
Aww.
同じ日本人というだけの私ですら。
It's a lot more complicated than that.
嬉しいんだ。
Aww. It's a lot more complicated than that, but fetch me.
心からゆうやのお父様を信頼し、愛していたお母様がそれを喜ばないはずがない。
God, this got me so complicated right now. Like, imagine trying to be in her head right now. Like, she's saying all this. I think she genuinely means it and she feels it, but at the same time, she's like, she's also talking about her love and trust for her father. It's the same guy, but she's starting to, like, part of her is freaking out, wondering if she can trust the father that she always trusted. Like, her foundation's been shaken while his has become solid, which is really interesting that they've kind of swapped in that way. And it's like, on one hand, she's absolutely feeling these things, and I think she's 100% like honest here. But inside, she's like, the back of her mind's gotta be just like, you know the meme with SpongeBob, like where it goes into his brain, and it's just like a dozen of miniature SpongeBobs running around in a room full of filing cases, and they're all on fire. Like, that's essentially what's going on for her. Yui.
許せ。私に涙する資格など。
No, thank you. Oh, there goes the music. Here we go. You're talking a whole lot of sense, Yui. I think Mom would be thrilled to hear it. What's wrong?
良い頃合いだろう。
Oh boy. Oh boy, here we go. A good time for what? Well, that came as a surprise. Can't believe how much Yui sympathized with my mother. That would be one thing, but to even cry for her? This is so weird. I've never talked about this before, not even with my girlfriends.
待たせたな。
Go boy, business. No worries.
ユウヤ、これを。
Oh boy. This is a katana? It's real!
以前ユウヤに日本の剣術を教えてほしいと頼まれたことがあった。覚えているな。
Interesting. There's a lot. If I'm guessing right, this is a heck of a lot more than just like here, I want you to learn about Japanese culture. This is like the family katana. Like, if he had been born in Japan, he would be the head of the family. And this is likely the sword that would have been gifted to him by his dad, that was gifted to Yui because she's the head of the family. So, like, even the implication of this, like, if someone from Japan, like the Japanese, like, especially like the Royal Guard or any part of that organization from the Shogunate, saw this, knowing what it was and knowing like the story, they'd probably be like freaking out. Yeah, we couldn't even get started thanks to that terrorist attack and you getting shot. What about it?
実は、ユウヤに詫びなければならないことがある。
What are you talking about?
すまなかった。あの時私は、貴様に剣術を教えるつもりはなかったのだ。
Oh, fetch. What?
剣術の習得は生半可ではなく、長ければ一生かかるものだ。計画期間に得られるものなど、付け焼き場に過ぎず、実質的な意味は皆無。
Right.
ユウヤの情熱に冷や水を浴びせたくなかった私は迷った。だが、行き詰まりは落胆を呼び、生病法はかえって戦績を落とす結果となる。あの時私は、XFJ 計画の完遂を優先した。メインテストパイロットのメンタルの低下を恐れ、決断を先延ばしにしたんだ。許せとは言わない。ただ、詫びることだけは認めてほしい。
Water under the bridge. You did exactly what any other lead developer would have done. It's not like I blame you or anything. Come on, stop bowing your head.
ありがとう。そう言ってもらえると、少し気が楽だ。
Not where I thought the conversation was going, but I'm intrigued. Like I said, water under the bridge. So what's the deal with the katana?
ああ。あの日以降、テロリストとの戦い、そしてレッドシフト阻止戦。私はユウヤと戦場を共にし、自分の考えが杞憂だと悟った。貴様は戦術機動剣術の身につけるべきを実践において学び、それを日々磨き続けている。剣術とは本来、型や流派によるものではなく、己の腕を磨き、敵を倒すことを源流とする。つまり、独自の剣術があれば、それこそが新たな流派となるのだ。たとえ髪の毛一本ほどの刹那であっても、敵よりも早く刀を振り下ろし、その一撃で仕留めることこそ極意。二立ち目はない。
We like the drama of a fancy sword fight, but she's right. Like, real practical application, you strike once and it's the one strike that counts. And like, you don't make it, they do, you dead. That's just it. That's what's so scary. It's like real battlefields. There's so many people who just, they don't even get a chance to try and defend themselves. You don't even get a chance to like respond. And it's like now more than ever, especially with like modern weapons, but even back then, like, can't imagine actually going to a battlefield. I don't care how well trained you are, but that's the thing too, is like, part of what made the samurai so scary was the fact that they did train. Most of the time back then, like, you didn't have the luxury of being able to just pick up a sword and learn. Like, you had to, like, try not to starve to death. That was, like, your whole life. So you'd go to battle to defend your home, but you could, like, you'd be running around, like, with a spear, just trying to do your best not to die, and then some guy charges at you with a sword. They know how to fight. Like, that'd be horrifying.
そして最も重んじるべきは、剣術を行使する者に宿る精神性。それにおいても貴様は、自ら試練を克服し、救恩に報いようと、あまねく手を差し伸べ、十二分な資格を得た。
Aww.
すなわち貴様は、真に命を懸けた試合において、その、真、義、体を実践し、本質を得得したんだ。
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. He did prove his character.
この刀は、免許皆伝の証。
Aww.
私は優也の死でもなく、事実、何の指南もしてはいない。だが。
But isn't this yours?
ああ、そうだ。
Yeah, again, like I said, if anyone who actually knew, like, what this kind of represents, they'd be horrified. They'd be like, what are you doing? For a samurai, for a member of the royal guard, their blade represents their soul. I've barely done my research, and even I know that. Are you completely sure it's okay for me to take this? In every respect, technically no, and technically yes.
高村は、五石家の一つ。高司から分家独立した家柄。代々の当主は、武と忠をもって、歴史を駆け抜けてきた。
Okay.
高村家の当主たる者は、その伝統を守り、後代に伝えていかねばならない。
Okay.
貴様に言われるまでもなく、剣に託す魂の重さは、理解しているつもりだ。
Yes.
だからこそ、受け継ぐべき者がそれを授かる。それが自然であり正しい。
You're still not answering the real thing, though. Is she going to do this in lieu of explaining the actual, like, history that they have?
剣の道とは、力に任せた波動ではない。刀は抜かぬ方が強い。それを心に留め、抜くときは容赦せず。この刀を見るたびに思い出してくれ。
I actually really like that. It's the philosophy behind this is identically mirrored in what everyone's philosophy should be with like a gun. Is like there's strength that lies in the blade regardless of whether or not it's drawn or not. Same thing with a gun. And it's like once you've drawn, like it needs to be because there's no other choice. That all other recourse is gone. Because if you're willing to draw it, you need to be ready to commit to it. Like you pull out a pistol or a rifle and you aim it at something, like you're committing to like destroying whatever's in front of you. That's why they always said in gun safety when I was in scouts, they talked about how like you never ever point your weapon at anything you're not willing to destroy, because you very much will. Like you never pointed at anybody, even if you are using it as a way to try and like, you know, provide self-defense of threat. Like you still don't draw bear on a target unless you are ready to execute it. And it's like the same with a blade. Like don't pull it out of the sheath until it's time for you to be wielding it and using it. And if you have it in your hand and you're in combat ready to go stance, it's because you've literally done everything you can to get yourself out of that situation first thing. I think it was common for true soldiers back in the day. I think it's common for true soldiers today. Cowards are the ones that pull out their weapons and point them without knowing if they're ready and fully committed, because they feel without knowing that they haven't exhausted every other possibility. Got it. I'll gratefully accept it.
ありがとう。
Way heavier than it looks. How the hell did you go lugging this thing around every day?
それは、命と魂の重みだ。
You got that right. The design is a work of art. I could lose myself looking at every little detail.
いかに軍事基地内とはいえ、そのまま持ち歩くのはさすがに問題があるだろう。 この刀袋に入れていけ。
Right. Good idea. Hey, Yui?
なんだ
I've got something for you too.
うん
Oh yeah, you thought about getting her a gift. Here you go.
これは
A thank you for today.
そんな、私は
Come on, just take it. I don't know if it suits your taste though.
ありがとう。開けてもいいか
Go ahead, it's yours.
それにしても、いつの間に
When you told me to leave while you were picking out the ingredients. You're not back at full health yet, but still, well, you're supposed to be celebrating your recovery, right?
そうか。
Oh.
これは、綺麗な串。
You didn't tell me what you wanted, so I just went ahead and picked something myself.
どうしてユウヤが串を
I don't know, because you have like the most gorgeous hair on base. Like, I mean, French, like, do you know how hard it is to take care of hair like that? I'm a dude like who's like never had hair longer than like this. I know the terrifying truth about hair care in that regard. Like, of course it takes forever. Like, treat it right. Well, I always remember Mom fawning over this comb she had. It was a gift from my father, and this one looks kind of similar. Besides, I thought it would suit you.
ユウヤのお母様に
Fetch me, man.
お父様が
Oh no, there's so much to that. Oh, the layers. And like, fetch me, you strip away the complicatedness of their whole thing. Like, how is she supposed to, like, interpret this? He's like, oh, I got you a comb. Oh, why'd you get me the comb? Oh, because my mom really loved this comb, and it's very similar to the one my dad got her, and, you know, they were, like, totally in love, and so I got you the same kind of thing because we're friends? That's pretty much it, yeah. Gosh darn it, Yuuya. You both are awesome and suck. No, to be honest, I didn't expect we'd be talking about Mom or My Life Story when I bought it. Sorry, the mood's gotten kind of heavy, huh? Oh no, here we go. Whoa, what's wrong? How much you want to bet her mom also had a comb like this? Dang, I knew the mood was too heavy, my bad.
ありがとう、ユウヤ。大切にする。一生、大切に。
What does she want from him? What is she expecting? Cool, but are you sure you like it? You still have the receipt.
いいんだ。これがいい。
See, that's not the look of like, oh, I'm a lucky sister. That's not the look. If you say so.
ありがとう、ユウヤ。父様の形見。高村家当主の証たる、飛燕白麗。かの者に託しました。
So I knew it was that. Oh gosh, why would you do that? There's so many really, really improper implications with that. But also, the problem is that there is some legitimacy to that, and that's not good, because he's not Japanese, really.
これにて、斧が瞬別といたします。
Yeah, I'm not sure what line you're thinking. What a
今
mess.
更マッチングテストをやる意味があるのか
Martika. Oh, this is the Kriska, like, replacement.
プラーフカの持続時間は極端で、精度も低い。試験を繰り返すたびに、明確に能力が減退してきている。辞退したらどうだ？惰弱な者は、栄光ある我が軍に必要ない。貴様の存在は、イーニアにも負担をかけている。
Alright, now that's a cold way to go about it, and that's probably the one thing you've said that she might actually start believing, which is not true.
本来、一度で済む試験を二度やらねばならない。不憫だと思わないか？あの子。どちらが重要なのか、自分の立場をわきまえるんだな。 計画は私が完遂する。そのために私は存在する。邪魔者は排除させてもらう。
The plan. Ooh, what's this plan?
失礼する。
Oh, there it is, the demon machine. I kind of want to end here because I don't want to move on from that insanity that we just witnessed. But I also don't want to listen to that all the time. Let's go a little more. The Soviets done with their repairs?
そんな恨みがましい目で見んのって。お預け食らってる分、こっちはお楽しみがいっぱいだろ?
That's true. Yeah, but seriously, it took them forever to get a simple G checkup and required maintenance. You don't think there's something else going on?
まあ、フレームの強化ぐらいはしてるかもな。あとは A 氏のメンタル的な部分か。最近会ってないみたいだ。
That's true. Yeah, seems like they're forbidden from crossing over the other side of the fence. Soviet's gonna Soviet, I guess.
ああ、なんとかしてこいよ、ユウヤ。そんな理由で調子を落としたとか、私は認めねえぞ。
I don't think it's that simple. That much wouldn't throw them off the game.
おかしいの。クリスカも、私も、おかしいの。このままだと、いらなくなっちゃうの。
And the important thing is that it's pretty clear that they won't throw them away. They'll throw their unity away. It's not Inya that's going to get thrown away. It's going to be Kriska.
私も、クリスカも、ダメになっちゃう。
Can't get the way she phrased it out of my head, like something's going on, that the Martika woman is at the center of it. I really hope there's nothing wrong with Kriska and Inya. Alright, we will end here for today. Not great, because like it means that intro, we won't get to see some of that cool action stuff, but I'm sure we'll see more of it when we get back. So, looks like we've seen whatever that line is that Yui's drawn, but you know, we'll get to that when we get to it. Anyway, thank you so much for being here today. Oh, that was a lot. That was a lot. I kind of don't like. It's really kind of implying that despite their genuine, like, relativeness, as in, like, they are genuinely blood related, I'm not sure Yui's giving up on him. And that's concerning on a couple levels. Because I'm such a big fan of her now. But I can't really go, I can't really go and say like, oh yeah, that's fine. It's not. And not even close. Like, good grief. It's weird enough when it's step siblings when they have their showcasing that type of relation in like an anime or something. And that's still weird. This is crossed from weird into genuine wrong. And yet like part of me is horrified because I still really like the two of them and think that in every other respect they're fantastic. They'd make a fantastic like couple, and that's terrifying to me because I don't want to be cheering for that. That feels wrong. I think that's important though that it's doing this on purpose because you can't be happy. It's the alternative timeline. Everything has to suck, right? So yeah. Ooh. Anyway. Hope you enjoyed that. Hope you're excited for whatever's coming up next, which looks like we're going to be having a bit more focus again on Kriska and Inya. So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. But yeah, overall, I'm curious to see what happens next. But I know we're probably, I don't know, I get the impression that this is the final part. And I think someone's mentioned in the past that like, this is the last arc of the story of Total Eclipse. So I'm curious to see where it's going to end up, but you know, we'll get there when we get there. No rush. Thank you so much for being here. Hope you enjoyed yourselves. Thank you especially to the patrons and members and make it possible for me to do this more often and to just, you know, be able to throw myself into it like I have. And I hope I can continue to do so and to make content you can enjoy. But yeah, for now we'll have to wait. Hopefully there's other good stuff you can watch for the rest of the week. And just keep your eye out for some interesting projects coming up in the near future. I've got some tricks up my sleeve, you could say. But, we'll get to it when we get to it. And until next video, watching me, if you see me next, I'll see you there.